Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
How we doing?
You doing all right, buddy? You coming out of it all right?
Hey, Kevin. If you don't know us,
It's been a long 12 hours.
we know you. That's all right. We're going to get into it with you, buddy. And if you're not Kevin, welcome to the show. Hey, we're the Professional Hippies.
Hey!
I'm Colton. This is Dylan. And
Kevin's getting through it.
Kevin's, for all those out there, you'll get to know Kevin. Don't worry. In good time. We like bridge the gap between hippie woo-woo,
Hippie woo-woo.
high achievers,
High achievers.
and some meat in the middle.
There's definitely some marsh in there.
Something. Well, hey, welcome to this episode. Very special episode. Why is it special, Dylan?
Everyone's going to learn something today.
Are you going to learn a thing or two?
We're going to learn it to them.
Tell you what. Hey, what we're actually going to be sharing and breaking down with you guys are the 10 Commandments of Psychedelics. So a lot of people actually, I did a little video series on Instagram not too long ago, and some amazing feedback. I don't know why God chose me to be the one.
I think you chose yourself.
I'll tell you what, it's one of those things.
But it's a good idea. It's a good idea that you chose yourself. And I'm glad we're here doing this because people need to learn this.
Hold on. Then we're going to get in the whole free will conversation real quick.
I don't know where that came from, but okay.
God chose it for me.
Sure, I guess he planted it in your mind. I guess he's sitting to the top of the mountain like Moses and was like, carve this into a stone as I tell you it.
Hey,
Then take it back down and tell them to stop preaching the gold calves.
Is that how the stories went? Preaching the gold calf?
Yeah.
Did you just skip some Sunday services or?
No, that's actually how it went. You can read it. Look it up.
They worship the gold cow, buddy.
I said that's what he said. Go down there and tell them to stop preaching or worshiping. Sorry, I said preaching. You're right.
Say preaching.
Worshiping.
I just picture a field of a.
I just imagine a gold calf, just
thousands of golden calves.
These people just preaching to it. Fire and brimstone.
Stop milking udders.
Stop milking those silver udders. Only the gold udders.
All right, boys, let's remember our training. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends. We are some hippies, these are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
So, oh boy. Yeah. Hey, we're excited to bring this to you guys because
10 Commandments.
I'd like to think, and this is very self-proclaimed, just like apparently my fucking purpose in life, that on some fronts, I got my life together. And on other fronts, lose yourself to find yourself. You know the routine.
Isn't that when you think you have your shit together, you really don't? You're like, oh, I don't really have my shit together. But when you think you're like, oh, I'm doing great.
It's all relative, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. It's when you're like not doing good is actually when you're doing good. But in your mind, you think you're not doing great.
I mean, I just kind of come from the perspective that we're always doing good.
We are doing pretty good. I mean, we're here able to talk about the 10 Commandments of tripping.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're doing good.
Your inner journey, outer journey, this journey, whatever this journey is.
Yeah, I don't know what the journey. I tried to figure it out on Saturday on my own little trip sesh, but
Oh, that's right. You did trip on Saturday.
Did trip on Saturday. Had a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I found anything, but it was a great
Didn't
time.
find nothing.
I made a crazy painting. That's about it.
Yeah, it scratched that itch.
It did. Scratched it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely need more itching, more scratching.
Yeah, I've been really itching to. So that's a thing that didn't make it into the commandments, because I'm not going to tell someone how many times they should be tripping. What do you feel like is a healthy amount of trip per year?
Per year?
Yeah.
It's just whenever you feel comfortable. Like you don't want to force yourself into that, where you're like, I feel like when you get to the point where you're like, I have to trip, but you don't know why.
Right.
You're just like, I have to take it. Well, do you have a reason to? Like for me, this past weekend, my roommate and I, we just wanted to relax and have a playful day of doing like painting. We went on a bike ride. We threw the Frisbee around. It was just, I wanted a day where I could just let my responsibilities go for a little bit and just relax that way.
Yeah.
And so it was just our intention to do that. So, I don't know, a good healthy amount, if you're looking to do it, is like 2-3 times, even more. I mean, that's like my minimum I like to stay at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I picked this up from Paul Stamets. I don't grab the wisdom stick more than once or twice.
Mm-hmm. But then there's other situations too, right? Like a trip at a festival is going to be completely different than a trip at home.
Oh, for sure.
So, then you're looking at it like, how many trips do you want in this style and how many trips do you want it in this style?
Well, I mean, for people that haven't tripped, like, why even trip at all?
That's another good question. Why even explore that road?
Yeah.
I think for me, it was just like everyone that I knew that did trip were just pretty cool people. They just looked at things a little bit differently, a little bit more open-mindedness. And I was like, the only way to get to that is either through 100 years of meditation or go down this path.
That is kind of the thing. That's one of the classic, like, Sam Harris arguments, that if you spent, say you were hanging out with someone that would be considered to be enlightened, or like a yogi, someone that has like really practiced with themselves and done some inner work, no amount of time can really guarantee that if you were to practice everything the exact same way they're practicing with the same level of intention, that your experience is going to be the same. I can't even guarantee when you're tripping, but I will guarantee if I give you 400 micrograms of LSD, that within about 45 minutes of you taking that, the weight of your existence will come bearing down on your shoulders immediately.
I mean, it'll probably come down your shoulders and then be behind you and gone. There's a new existence going forward.
It's just a shortcut to get where you want to go.
I was talking about this with someone the other day, actually, about it. Like, they were asking me, like, why do you do it? And I was just like, well, I mean, because they were like, well, you can just do it through meditation. And I was just like, I mean, if I had the time to really go down that path, sure.
I mean, you do have the time.
Not really.
You're just not making it.
Sure, yeah. I guess I don't want to put my time to that, but I'd rather do it in 12 hours. I'd rather put my time towards this in 12 hours and just be like, oh, there's a lot more. Everything I thought was super important as far as like money and time and my job and stuff like that, they are important, but not significantly, right? Like, so not to keep me living.
I just want to highlight and underscore, because in one of the commandments we'll get into, I don't think drugs are for everybody.
No.
So do not misconstrue this episode, or, I
think it's definitely for the people that are wanting to do it. Like,
you got to be called to it.
They have to be called to it.
For sure.
You shouldn't be like, forced or pushed into it, or think you have to do it because everybody else is doing it, right?
Or to look cool.
Or even to look cool. That's a lot of times what people end up in. And then they have a bad time, a bad trip.
You fucking end up like this. So,
yeah, folks. Number one example.
Tongue in cheek, but like, not really. I mean, it's one of those things that I remember when I first did it, that no one in my circle was doing it. So kind of polar opposite to your experience.
Well, no one in my circle was doing it either.
Okay.
There was one person, actually it was a girl I was talking to at the time. She had done it many a times, and my roommate and I at the time were both wanting to do it. We had been to festivals and stuff like that. We'd already done things like MDMA, things like that. But then, like, you see, at festivals, you see plenty of people doing it. And then she had talked about it with us. And then,
how old were you when you first tried it?
I think I was 19 or 20. And she was a trusted source that we could go through to get it. And then she babysat us for it too. Yeah. So that's how I got into it. And then I ended up having a really bad trip personally. And then
sick.
For me, I'm the type of person where I'm like, I have to overcome things. Like, I'm not going to let something, because my roommate had a great time, blast. And he was telling me all the things that he went through and saw. And I was like, I want that experience. So I had to go. For me personally, even though I went through a bad trip, I was like, I can get through this and figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really solid point that, hey, when you're taking this stuff, it's not always going to be butterflies and rainbows.
I think we treated it, which I know we'll touch on a little bit. I think we treated it too gingerly. I think we overdid it a little bit.
Sure.
Went in with 2 tabs instead of probably 1 like we should have.
Yeah.
And my mind basically just blacked out.
Oh, 100%.
It was just like, and we can't handle this at the moment because we don't know what this is like.
Well, I mean, here's one of the things when you're going down that spiral. So commandment number 1, test it.
Test it.
So testing it not only, so here's the funny thing about testing it. It's twofold purpose. 1, to really keep yourself safe. I didn't put this in the ebook, but an easy way to tell if you're actually taking LSD is if you taste it, it's not LSD.
Other side of that, you're already in it now.
Right.
So that's the only way to really test it.
It is definitely, I don't know what, it's like playing Russian roulette when you kind of get to that point, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, either way, you're not going to have, it's not going to be anything life-threatening or anything. You're just,
I've never heard of anybody getting screwy with once, unless you're, that's also the thing is that like,
that's just the difference because the person, whoever's providing that is going to want to make sure they're providing a good experience, right? That path of I think, what was it? One of the shows I was watching where they went to like a dealer's house for that produced stuff for mushrooms and things. They were like, this isn't really like a crime-ridden world. Like no one down this, like you go to like Coke or stuff like that. Like it's a crime-ridden world.
Sure.
Everyone's chill as fuck down this path.
Yep.
They're not trying to fuck people over.
But what people do oftentimes get misconstrued is acid and LSD. So LSD, in short, it's synthetic, but it's going to be pretty close because it came from mold. They synthesized it from mold. Dr. Hoffman, Bicycle Day. Check that out. Pretty cool thing. Day. So if you taste it, hey, just heads up, you're going to have a great time. Just be aware of your side effects are going to be a little bit different. So when you're tasting something, the benefit is that you know what to expect. And you can test LSD too. Mushrooms, you typically don't have to worry about that. Blue stem, you're good to go.
That's how I went into my next trip. Was a good trip because I went the mushroom route to get back into it and had a blast.
Yeah, and if you're eating anything under than like 10 grams, you don't have to worry about like any kind of neuroplasticity, neurotoxic side effects, any kind of like.
Just keep drinking water. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine when it comes to the mushroom. So when you test it, not only do you know what you're taking and you can expect what the side effects are going to be, but when you're tripping, you actually know like, hey, whether it's a substance like LSD or MDMA, you'll know what you took was what you meant to take. And as long as you do research, you'll know you'll be fine. And that does a lot I find for my state.
Definitely with MDMA.
Yeah.
Like if I know comfortably that is
real
exactly
MDMA.
when I'm taking it, way better time.
Oh yeah.
I remember, unfortunately back in the day, didn't test it. And you're playing Russian roulette at that point. You're taking something back in college, having a great time. Every now and then you're like, well, tonight's going to not be that great of a night. Yeah. And then you have to go down that path.
You get chills and withdrawals the next day. And
or you get the little buggy crawling on you.
The spiders.
That's the worst one for me.
Oh, yeah.
But when you know what you're taking, it's just, you're also putting, when you're know thyself, now you're putting yourself in a comfortable situation that it's all about the setting too when you take anything. So when you have that setting in place, it's not just what you have around you, it's also what you have up in your head setting.
Yep. So, it ties right back into what we were saying earlier is that drugs aren't meant for everyone. So if you're someone that's on the fence and you feel like, man, it is calling for me, but I'm unsure, right? Very different than a space where you don't feel unlocked. It's the space where you feel like, hey, this could be a key in my puzzle.
That's a great way of putting it. If you're looking to unlock another part of your brain a little bit more, this is a great way to do it.
When you test it, you can be very certain. It provides a level of comfortability.
And measure it. Test it and measure it.
I mean, there's a reason why drugs are regulated. Pharmaceutical drugs are regulated. Right? You want to know what the expected side effects are going to be. But again, know thyself. Hey, they might not be for you. And have a real conversation with someone that has been through it and understands it on a level that's not like, hey, I'm just taking it to get fucked up.
Yeah, great point of that. Yeah, don't take it just to get fucked up. I remember doing that in college a few times, and when I take it now, there's intention to it. There's something I'm trying to get something. Back then, it was just like, I'm going to the club. Let's just see.
You are crushing these segues, by the way.
Putting it in my mouth. Let's just see what happens tonight.
Yeah.
Well, don't know where we're going.
Yeah.
Now it's like I have like setting, place, water ready. Where am I? What am I doing? I got like a list. Like there is preparation to it, an intention, and there is an intention going into it.
Commandment number 3. So when I think of intention, what really comes up for me is earlier you described like, hey, those 2 different types of trips, like at a festival or with your friends in a field kind of thing, maybe by yourself in a field, really does bring 2 totally different outcomes. Like at a festival, I'm so stimulated. I mean, that's the reason overdoses happen, is because people have no idea. There's so much stimulation going on in that crowd and that environment. We went to the festival and like, sober, I was like, holy shit.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, I felt like I was tripping without anything.
Yeah, you can definitely feel in a euphoric sense without taking anything at those 100%. Festivals. And then you take something, and then you're taking away almost a part of, let's say you take LSD, you're almost taking away a part of it, like the visual part of it, because there's so much going on around you that you really can't actively let it work to do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Like this past Saturday, I look at the sky. I'm just sitting there, right? There's not much stuff going on, but I look at the sky and those clouds are doing all swirly things. Billowing. Those planes look like they're zooming super fast by. I look at the grass. It looks like it's growing at the same time while I'm watching it.
Yeah.
But then you go to a festival, there's so many lasers and lights and people to look at.
Which, by the way, big fan.
Oh, big fan of all those. Yeah. But your brain is like, it's kind of weird because your brain's trying to process it so quickly that because there's so much other stuff going on, it doesn't really have a creative portion to it,
right?
In the visual part. But you feel like you're walking above everybody else.
Yeah,
when you're on it.
It does. It kind of brings like different aspects. Like if I take MDMA at a festival, those lights are intense.
Love them.
You got to put on the same as LSD though. When you take LSD at a festival, you're right. I mean, you're so overstimulated, it almost like some of the effects are dulled.
Kind of dulled out a little bit, but then that's why you candy flip.
Well, you walk out that crowd, you realize pretty fucking quick how hard you're tripping.
Yeah, once you get out of the crowd and
you're
what's
like,
going on.
Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. What am I doing again?
Or when you are in a crowd and you do try to focus in on something, like you get a totem pole and you focus in on it and you just stare at it for a minute, you'll find it for sure.
For sure. So intention, I mean, we're talking a lot about the festival, but if you're looking to find yourself, I mean, here's where it's really going to fork off from drugs and medicine. You're taking it at a festival, probably more drugs.
Probably more drugs.
And that's super recreational. Nothing wrong with it. I love the argument that we had, not an argument, but I mean, just like the perspective that you shared from another podcast when it's like, doesn't always have to be medicine. What if I just want to get fucked up because?
Yeah.
Right? You're a fucking adult. And by the way, if you're listening to this or watching us on YouTube, you're a fucking adult. You might not be. You might be a kid. This is not for kids, by the way. Disclaimer. But Kevin, live your life, bro.
Kevin's an adult.
Live your life.
Well, it's like when you go to a festival, right? Like if I go to a bar and I drink and I want to get fucked up, I just drink a lot, right?
Yeah, you don't go to a bar and call it medicine.
Exactly. If I want to go to a festival, though, and not drink, but I do want to get fucked up, there's other ways to do that.
And that's the thing that kind of ticks me off with like trying to get ketamine or psilocybin, like a lot of these different substances that have such therapeutic properties. We have to classify it like it's medicine. Like, do you really have to classify nicotine or alcohol in order like, imagine making that argument. Yeah, alcohol is my medicine. I mean, back in the day they did, and that's where it ultimately came from. But at the end of the day, the reason I'm saying all of this is to say, hey, if you need to heal and ego is really stepping in the way of that, don't be afraid to take a lower dose by yourself, lose yourself to find yourself. I find so often some of the most incredible breakthroughs I've ever had with like dealing with childhood trauma or, insecurities and feeling less than was when I just went off by myself or tripped by myself, and you get that moment to experience a separation in self and realize like you are not your thoughts.
There's definitely portion. I haven't done an alone trip yet, but when I do go through those and have attention of like, there's been people where when I've tripped with, it was to go deep, right? Like there's a friend where we took MDMA, and I learned this from the book Waking Up, and we just sat on the floor and we just started talking. We took it while sitting on the floor, we started talking, and the entire trip we sat on that floor and we just went down each other's lives and paths, and then like we know each other pretty well, so we were able to be like, why do we do this thing? All right, let's talk about why you do that. All right, when I was young, like this type of thing happened, or this is how my father was or my mother was. And then like, oh, that's probably kind of explains why you're like this. Do you like being like that? Well, yes, I do like being like that. Or no, I would like to change this. Okay, then this is what you probably want to do. And we did that for each other. And that was such an eye-opening experience, because you're right, you are dropping an ego that you've built up for yourself, and you're really diving deep down in thought processes that are just so deep in your brain that you wouldn't be able to do it because there's too much else going on in a normal day, right? I've got bills to pay. I got to feed the cat. I got to go to work. Like there's too much other things processing. But once you drop all that and really break yourself down to basically being a child, I feel like in the mind concept of being just like, all right, let's figure out what my inner self is like. That's where I like using these types of tools.
Absolutely. And that's so cool that you did that, by the way.
Yeah, we've done that a couple of times. We've done that. We've gone to we've gone to downtown and we've done that. Talked to like downtown CP. We've talked through things, or sat down with them, or my other buddy I used to live with. We did that when I was really going through a dark time. We sat down and went through that. It's just like a tool of like, all right, let's figure something out.
It's another tool in the toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you're utilizing these tools, another thing that comes up would be commandment number 4, set.
Setting is probably one of the most important pieces, I feel like, besides testing it.
Well, I mean, you have like set and then you have setting, right? So when we refer to set, that's going to be more on like the mindset. I mean, it's going to be...
Oh, so you have set and setting?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have basically intention and set are going to be real close to each other, right? Like you're setting an intention before you're going in. When it comes to set, like, hey, what are you ready to let go of? Like, what are you going in? Like, you got to have the mindset and really be willing to understand, like, hey, you can control your trip. If you're having a bad trip, you can steer that bad boy straight on into good times, depending on the substance. Now, if you get like a boga or DMT, ayahuasca.
Hold on.
Yeah, that's gonna be advanced expert level stuff. Shoot me a DM and I'll guide you on that one. But we're talking about more of these recreational dudes. We talked about it earlier. Like, it's not always butterflies and rainbows.
No, it's definitely not always. I've definitely found myself in like definitely at festivals where I've been at a stage having a great time, and then I've had a thought loop come in.
Yeah,
and
all loops.
Not having a great time, but then I had to just be like, all right, let's think about something. Or you just start talking to somebody. Like, just find someone random to start talking to, and helps pull me out of whatever I'm doing, because then they'll start up a conversation that's completely different of whatever you're thinking about. But you're right. As far as like setting goes for the mind, I always try to mentally prepare going into it for the week, right? I try to keep positivity. And I've even done it to where I knew like something happened that definitely changed my mindset, and I just decided not to do anything.
Yeah.
Take anything. Because I was like, if I take this now, this is where my mind's going to be, is focusing on this, right? So like, I mean, for example, right, a death in the family or something. Yeah. Like, let's say you plan on doing something for a weekend, and then someone very important to you now passes away. Right. There's 2 ways to go about that. You could do it. Me personally, I don't want to, because now emotionally that's where my mind's going to be the whole time. And I don't want to go down that path at that time. I have known of people doing it where they do go down that path to try to connect with that person personally. Yeah. But you need to feel comfortable mentally for sure going into it.
Shout out to the girl I broke up with in Amsterdam and still wanted to take truffles. Talk about a bad time. That would have been like a fucking terrible,
horrible time.
Hey, we just broke up. Let's trip together.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time.
Fuck that.
Sounds like a way we were going to get back together.
Yeah, maybe, right?
We figured out our problems.
Yeah, everything's awesome.
Get on the plane.
Commandment number 5, setting.
Setting.
All
Not
right.
Amsterdam. No, I'm just kidding.
No, so set and setting real close together. I mean, setting, here's the deal. I totally recommend, by the way, how'd you like painting?
Beautiful. Work of art. It was fun.
Yeah.
I definitely found throughout the trip, you know, you could see throughout the painting, like where your feelings are at throughout. Like, is it a harsh time? Is it a smooth butterflies and rainbows? I think we put Tool on and I just started slapping it with like paint and everything, you know. It was, and then like in the beginning, it was like open, airy, like music. So we're just like painting clouds and
Yeah, it's real cute.
stuff like that. You know,
Hey, you wanna grab SS Mayo?
oh yeah,
So one of the things I love doing just about every single time I trip is to paint. And the main reason, I don't know why in the beginning, I just picked it up from, shout out to Luke or Sarah. I mean, I don't know where this really started, but it's definitely been something that stuck with me over the years.
yeah. I think I'm gonna definitely start doing it too.
Oh, it's just such a fun thing.
Well, it's a way to just really just let your mind be open.
Yeah.
To something like
It's not
to
my
really
idea. You know, steal it.
to express it. You know, whatever your mind's kind of feeling like because I mean, you are really going. You're seeing tons of colors. You're seeing tons of whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're really liking this color, you're saying throw it on the painting.
By the way, that color might not be the color you think it is.
Also, that
Yeah. I don't remember what happened to that starship. At Bonnaroo, painting in black.
Oh yeah, what did happen to that?
Luke might have it. Anyway, painting's a really great way not only to express yourself and have an activity to do, but it's one of those things that if you're painting with yourself or some friends, you have something tangible to take back after the trip. So often you're going to be doing this work internally if you're using it as medicine and even recreationally. I mean, what I'm about to show you is drugs with the fucking capital T. So it gives you a souvenir to take home.
This was Bonnaroo 2 years ago. We put
We
up,
need to date that motherfucker.
we put the easel up and we left it up for the entire weekend.
Yeah.
And we just added as the weekend went on.
Yeah.
Coming back to camp.
Well,
touch it
stop
up.
by the barn. People helped us.
Stop by the barn. Yeah, stop by the barn with it. So
People just come by.
So-
Show the camera. Come on.
show the people what they want.
Yeah, don't hold out. So you can clearly see that's that's about what you'd expect, like a bunch of monkeys on drugs to paint. Isn't it?
Yeah. A little bit of happiness here. We got some
By the way,
fishies.
that's the creepiest part of that painting.
It is. I don't know why it's there, but it's there.
And if you're listening to us, by the way, just picture I don't know what your 4-year-old niece or nephew, daughter would
Captain SS Mayo
paint
over here.
because it's like a childlike state. I mean, when you're painting, now there's some other stuff. I don't know if I have some of the other paintings that I've done on acid in here. Sure don't. That's okay. I've done some other cool stuff. Cum Shot Butterfly. She's out in the living room. That's a good one.
It is a good one.
It actually is a pretty good painting.
It didn't turn out too bad.
Yeah.
I did find out while I was doing it. I told you about. You did say like before, if you're doing a larger one, you want to kind of pre-paint it.
Yeah, give her a background.
Because we went in with a large
Try
frame.
and nail. Here's the deal: if you're gonna paint on acid, try and nail that background before you get too much into it. That way, when you're done, whatever you did looks done.
It always looks done.
Yeah, because you laid down a nice base.
And setting too, we prepared our paint.
Oh, that's right. We're talking about setting.
We put out all the paint on the table. We put paper plates out. We had the easel up.
Fuck.
We had it all ready to go. So that way we just had to pick a color.
How much paint did you get on you?
None. Didn't get any paint. Yeah, we didn't get any on the floor. We kept
I almost
it on the
disapprove
plate.
of that.
We got it there. I was like,
you
I
know
want
what?
to keep it on.
Oh, you were painting inside?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we
That
were
makes
like,
sense.
keep it on the painting.
Sure.
Or
That
there.
almost like ruined some of the fun, though.
I thought about doing it outside, but I was like, this would be a good thing because we did a lot of outdoor
It'll
activities.
dry a lot quicker outside.
It was hot outside, and we did a lot. We like through frisbee run. We went on like a 10-mile bike ride.
Yeah.
I was like kicking the air for a little bit, so it was like a great way to come inside and cool down and do some painting.
So
Make sure you have comfy, like whatever you think you love that's just comfy. Could be a blanket or something like that. Have
could
that.
be tits.
Could be. Have your girlfriend ready. Whatever.
Or if your boyfriend has tits.
Or your boyfriend has tits. Just have a comfy couch that you can sit on, comfy bed. Have your bed. I always like having your bed made.
Oh,
before going in. So
Oh.
that way it's just a clean bed you can lie on, you know. I like that. If you like having your house clean before going into it, if you're like an OCD type of person, maybe clean the house a little bit for it. But
well, I mean, let's so beginner level stuff. Nature's great. You can't fuck up the music, and as long as you got some bug spray,
find a park, a good park,
you'll be great.
Perfect.
Can't fuck up nature.
Nature trails are wonderful.
Try not to get lost, but like, yeah, it's nice like field kind of vibe or just nature. You can't mess up nature. Now, if you're gonna do it in your bedroom, or like inside, well, it's two things. Nature, the sweet spot's gonna be day going into night for me. If I can get like an hour or two in the daylight and get a nice sunset and roll that bad boy into nighttime, oh
yeah, I do like the day into the night. We did the full day.
Nothing wrong with that.
It was the first time doing that, and I liked it. It was just hot.
Just that beaming sun.
Just beaming sun on you. Woo.
You feel your brain fry.
And I had a drink. I had to mentally remind myself consistently drink water. Like,
Yeah.
just keep doing
Water's always
that.
your friend.
Always have it. Like, even if you think don't need water, keep drinking the water.
Now, if you're going to do more of like an inside vibe, I highly recommend lights. You can get some like cheap lights off of Amazon too. It'll plug into like USB portable things.
Good movie you want to watch. Think of like a good movie maybe.
For the come down.
You can come for the come down or middle of it. I've done that.
I don't recommend movies for the middle of it.
I did The Matrix once during the middle of it. That was
shit.
we watched the first one sober, and then when all the crazy stuff happens, we watched the second and third one tripping. That was.
I just always feel it's kind of like a waste of a trip when you're watching a movie.
I don't know why we did, but we watched Good Will Hunting. That was like a emotional.
You might be the
roller coaster.
movie guy when it comes to this. I'll be.
We
more
did
of a
watch
painting
Star
guy.
Wars. It was Star Wars was cool.
I mean, any movie. By the way, heads up, any movie. You can watch Clifford the Big Red Fucking Dog, and it's gonna be the best shit you've ever seen.
There's definitely stuff where you're like, I don't want to watch that.
Yeah,
sure.
if it's serious, but if it's goofy or like,
We watched Fantasia by Disney. That was kind of cool.
yeah, Fantasia is ironically the only movie I've had a bad trip to.
Really?
Sure enough,
It's like all over the place.
that shit gets intense, doesn't it?
Demons coming out of hell. They start having a party.
Yeah, what part of that doesn't sound hardcore?
It's the whole movie is about.
Dude, the score behind that thing is intense.
The whole movie is about the devil prepping to have a party, and in the end, all the demons come out and start having a party and whatever, and then they all go back.
Demons
home.
came straight out of me.
I just started dying laughing because it is so serious. But then in the middle of it, the orchestra, some guy stumbles and falls over, and they left that in there. Just falling through the orchestra. You're like, what is going on right now?
Set and setting.
Set and setting.
Ooh, sitter. Commandment number 6.
Oh yeah, when you're first starting out, you want a sitter.
For sure.
100%.
It's like having sex.
150%.
You definitely want to ideally do it with someone that's been there, done that, and is comfortable walking you through it.
Mm-hmm. Walking you through it. If you go down a bad trip, walking you through that bad trip a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I
love playing sitter for people.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I've definitely done it a couple of times too. Mostly at festivals when I knew someone was tripping, but I wasn't, and they were like, "Hey man, I know you've done it. Can I tag with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." And I just made sure. Hey, it's kind of nice because you're like, "Hey, drink water," and they're like, "Thank you so much."
yeah,
Completely forgot about
gold.
that. You're like, dude, if you want to feel like on top of the world, be a sitter.
Yeah.
Because they will love you for anything you give them.
Mm-hmm. Amen, brother. And if you're doing it for the first time, you just want to feel more comfortable. Like, that's the dealio. And if you don't know anybody that does that, well, by the way, hit me up. I mean, that's literally
Yeah.
part of what we do. But there's also other businesses out there that you can contact and organizations. And if you'd like some resources on that, maps.org has some links available in the resource section of local communities you can get involved with that do more of a ceremonial practice, and they have a religious exemption from the government to be able to practice that.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like something,
Tax-free.
a little bit different, just actually like contact us, and we can help you out with that. So, commandment number 7, dose. Knowing how much to take.
Measuring it, testing it, everything.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Like, before you get into doing this stuff, if it's your first time. Honestly, even if it's not your first time, like knowing the dose can make a big difference because you know what to expect.
World of difference. God bless you.
Stop it. No, my buddy always says that. No, you sneeze and you go, stop.
I like the you die and nothing happens.
Wow. Keeping it light and fluffy here.
Doses.
Yeah, doses.
And
Mimosas. Nice. Very nice. Good job. So, yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Like,
when you know what you're taking, this kind of goes back to when you know what you're taking, you're going to be comfortable with it. I've seen people, let's say a bag of MDMA, right? They just lip it.
Yeah.
And they're just going. They don't know how much they're taking. I've seen that go downhill pretty fast.
Oh, for sure.
And by the end of the night, they're bug-eyed, wide open. They're like, I think I took too much. And you're like,
no
no shit, dude. Like
Yeah.
that bag is almost gone.
Yeah.
And you were lipping it
Yeah.
all the time. Where I like to, let's say for something like that, measure it, cap it. You got little capsules.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know exactly what is in that. I know exactly what I'm taking. And LSD too. I mean, that's pretty easy in itself. If you know it's just a drop, you know how much you're taking. Mushrooms that's a little bit trickier.
Measure
it out. Yeah.
2 to 3.5 grams is where you want to be.
Yeah. It's 3 grams of mushrooms is way different than like 7 grams of mushrooms.
Yeah. By the way, if you're looking to split your universe, that's going to start right around 3.5 grams.
Yeah.
Okay. With acid, about 2 is nice and solid and stiff.
2 is solid and stiff, and
2
then
tabs.
one
A tab. Hold on, let's break this down. The blotter paper is what it's called. I think
it's got like
really,
100
really thick printer paper. I mean, it's perforated paper is what
little
it
tiny
is.
squares.
And so if you take a tab is ideally somewhere between 40 to 100 UGs, which stands for micrograms. And the minimum effective dose for LSD is 40 to 50. So, sometimes, honestly, if it's a little bit over that, if it's closer to 100 and you're taking half of one tab, you could be taking the minimum effective dose at half a tab if you were to cut that little tab in half. So
you'll have a blast on one.
Yeah. One's honestly great sometimes.
If you're your first time, I recommend just one.
Yeah, just start out. You can always take more. Fuck.
And for mushrooms, I recommend that 3.5.
Can't ever take less. For the first time, I'd go more like 1.5 too.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess, yeah, if you're not looking to split your world open.
Yeah, here's the deal. If you're looking to split your world open, 2 tabs, 3.5 grams, can't go wrong.
And if you take 2 tabs, let's say you go down a little bit farther, I've learned taking the 3rd tab really isn't going to make you go any further. You're just now prolonging. For sure. You're if you want to go down the path like a deep road, you got to take it all up
you got to start heavy.
You got to start super heavy. If you're taking more later, you're just prolonging your peak basically at that point. And that's kind of the same thing with mushrooms too. If you take more later, you're really just prolonging.
And if you want to be able to walk, I wouldn't recommend much more than those doses.
And if you're looking to crawl through the dandelions, go right on ahead.
Yeah, here's the deal. Live your life. Do whatever you want to do. Report back. Let us know how it goes. But
and MDMA, a little bit different. It's kind of more, if you got the pure stuff and it's that crystal, 0.2, you can have a great night. You can have a great night for a few hours on 0.1.
For sure.
0.2, if you're looking to just have a solid night, have a great night. 0.3, I would say cap it right there.
100%.
Cap it right there. Because any farther than that, you're just going to be up all night at that point.
Yeah, I was counting my pulse around a campfire with 0.5.
Yeah, I've gone I've gone down that road too, and that's never a good.
It's not fun. You think you're gonna die.
You think you're gonna die. You think it's a great time at first, and you're like, yeah, 0.5.
You literally feel the world
that
vibrate.
That feeling that you had at 0.2 is gone.
Totally gone.
That is that fun love.
Straight into fuck.
I love everything. It's great, and now you've gone to.
It's mixed with somewhere between like I just got in a massive car wreck. Like, is my life over? And
a ton of Adderall.
Yeah.
Like you just beat yourself up and
it's
just
took
a ton of Adderall.
I'm a bad person. What was I thinking?
I'm stuck in my skin now.
Edgy. Not what you want.
Not what you want.
But that's why dose isn't that crazy, right? Because we're talking about the difference. All that to say, not trying to push anybody away. Like point 1.2 is amazing. It's just like anything
Beautiful.
else.
Right
like,
there. That's a great spot.
everything in moderation. You take that thing too far and all these effects compound. So like the upswings are not worth it.
Because you're also, when you're taking it, any of this, you are like, for example, if you start on one side of your yard and then you sprint across the side of your yard, your body heat went up because now you have exerted it and it needed to produce more energy. Whenever you're taking any of this, you're forcing your body basically to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you're exerting a ton of energy, and that's why you get more thirsty. Well, the more you take, the more you forget that your body needs to drink heavily.
Yeah.
And you think that cup of water that you were taking, let's say 0.1 or 1 tab, was going to be fine. And it would be if you just started drinking that cup of water every now and then. But now if you start going down that path of more and more, now you need to drink like 5 cups of water to keep up with it. Because now you're forcing your body to try to work.
It's not just the body physically, right? Like mentally, you got a lot of stuff going on in your mind. Your mind's on overdrive. It's releasing all your stores. So just
imagine just revving that engine on peak.
Yeah, just take our word for it on that one. You know, I think
please do.
What that kind of comes into is right into Commandment 8, recovery. Making sure you're doing the right things to take care of your body before and after. Some of that fast aid.
Recovery starts before the trip starts.
For sure. So you got to think about this like it's like a workout, right? You want to stretch before, you want to prep your body too.
Fast aids before. I like taking in vitamin C. Mm-hmm. Keep the body's immune system up.
Yeah.
Drinking a lot of water for like a week. I do it for a week. I just drink tons of water, more than I usually do. Yeah. For like a week before I'm going to do anything.
Because your liver is going to be taking a beating. I mean, you're kidding, like everything. Like, here's the deal. DMT is the only psychoactive substance that's naturally occurring. Everything else, you are introducing a foreign substance, and your body releasing chemicals and antigens and all these receptors and shit. Like, it's your body. Your body's fighting that trip. So, like, don't get it twisted. Like, you're introducing something foreign that your body, that does mesh with your body, but it's just not quite right.
And one of the most important pieces, get sleep before going into it. Make sure
going in,
after. But before going in, you want to make sure your body has all the energy it needs to exert.
So here's what I do. Definitely a lot of water, definitely a lot of sleep. But there are Fest Aid supplement companies. Why do I keep saying Fest Aid? Festival.
Fest Aid, because that's what it used to be called.
Yeah,
Fest
but
Aid.
What would they be called these days?
I don't know, because I looked I looked it up. It was gone.
Yeah, there's other ones. There was another Rave,
or
something like that.
What's the HTP 5?
Oh, 5-HTP.
5-HTP.
Yeah, well, so I was going to get to that. But anyway, there's companies out there that will literally, I mean, they manufacture supplements to support your body's natural ability to recover and to just support you through this whole process. So you want to take care of your body leading up to it, definitely after. Recovery supplements like 5-HTP, vitamin C's, zinc and iron are going to be great for your body to be able to flush out and replenish stores of serotonin and dopamine and endorphins and adrenaline.
And throw in a peanut butter cup right at the end. Enjoy a little bit of a peanut butter cup right in there.
Sure.
Yeah. I learned that this past one. I was like, this is delicious. Glad I did this.
I really do want to underscore this though, because I think a lot of people, they don't realize like how great of a time they're having, and then they don't take care of their body after. And then that taints their ability to like take the wisdom or take the time and really appreciate what they had, because then they're just like, oh, that come down was shit.
Yeah, I the come downs have gotten way better than what they used to be.
For sure.
100%. Like
the also when you're not redlining it.
The depression feelings that I used to get gone, like that's not even really there at all anymore. Especially if you're redlining it, your like muscles are super weak the next day too, especially if you go really hard. I've learned to stretch in the middle of it, keep that going, stay loose.
Yeah, and when we say like redlining it, what was the other thing right before you said redline that stood out to me? Think about that. But redlining, like when we're talking about the depression feelings, that's what it was. These big swings. It's because what's happening is, let's say you take some LSD, there are markers that are going on that go and float between the synapses in your brain. So you have naturally these levels of serotonin and dopamine when you have sex, or someone sends you a happy message, you get a promotion, whatever.
Pull
you
that
feel
slot machine.
rush of happy, good feelings, you're borrowing from those stores and releasing them. So you're quite literally borrowing from tomorrow's happiness to make today a little bit better in a way that's not quite as natural as God meant for it to be. So
That's a good way of putting that. You're borrowing from tomorrow's happiness for today.
yeah, and so when you get to tomorrow, just, hey, by the way, anticipate that you'll have a little bit of a dip. What do they call them? Sunday scaries?
Sunday scaries. Eat food. Go get your favorite food.
Healthy,
your favorite
clean
place.
shit.
Healthy, clean stuff.
Yeah.
Go get a smoothie. Smoothies are always nice.
But the philosophy that I'm trying to speak to here is just anticipate it. Just know, like, hey, that lull is going to come. So have a nice support group. Have a nice cast around you to support you through that time. I mean, commandment number 9, integration. When you're coming out of that trip, like, here's the deal. Like, the rule of thumb is the more profound experience that you had, probably the longer you should wait until you do it again. But if you want to integrate that wisdom, if you want to take that time back properly, by recovering properly, you're going to be able to integrate that experience much more profoundly. It's going to have some stickiness to it because you're happy and excited about it. Now, if you're redlining it, and what we mean by redlining is taking way too much. That's the stories we're just talking about. Yeah. You're not going to be excited to share that with anybody, even with yourself. You're going to try and block it out.
What great way Joe Rogan described it, right after you've taken mushrooms or LSD, is like you have like a Windows desktop, right? And then you've taken it and you just wipe the file clean. You just got rid of everything. But then there's a file up in the top right corner after you've rebooted everything. It just says old shit.
Yeah.
And then you either can go back after you come out of it and now you're like a clean slate. You can either go back and open all that up and just go back to the way you were, or you can go back in, realize, oh, I only want these pieces taken out of it, and then you just get rid of the rest. Mm-hmm. So, and you can only do that if you really are processing it and you take care of yourself through it. And in the end, you come out of it, you're able to just soak in what you just went through.
Keep the best, forget the rest.
Yes.
That's what I say.
That's a good saying.
I kind of stole it.
Yeah, as we all do, right?
Amen. But integration is really important. It kind of goes back to the top of the hour when I was asking, like, how many times do you trip? Me personally, it'll vary. Like, back in college, it was probably like twice a semester, maybe a little bit more than that here and there. Now I'm kind of like once every 4 or 5 months.
That's kind of where I'm at now too. I remember at college I was doing stuff all the time. Like every weekend almost was doing something crazy.
Well, it's because you have like such profound experiences. You're like, oh man, I want to do that again.
Especially, coming from where I was in life too, of just growing up and being taught like these things are bad, these aren't going to do anything, and then you get older and then you do it and you're like, oh, this isn't at all what they were preaching. Mm-hmm. So yeah, advocate and
educate. Commandment number 10. So here's the deal, guys, and we can sit here and the reason for this podcast, for ultimately for us sharing this with you, is because there's such a stigma in society. And I don't know, I don't mean to get on my soapbox by right now, but it really is a true thing. There is such a stigma going on between big pharma and more natural, like, what's the heliodermic native helios helicopters?
Native healing? I don't know.
Whatever. No, there's like this big battle going on between like Big Brother and Big Pharma and all this shit. And
it's definitely working. Like, especially with people with PTSD, people with OCD, people with major trauma in their life, these things are helping them dramatically. Whereas the big pharmas, they're just pumping out stuff just to mask it. Yeah. Whereas this is actually healing, and the big pharmas are doing everything they can to stop it. And they're slowly, though, investing into it. They're trying to stop it, but
they're always going to go where the money goes. But here's what happened back in the 70s. If you're ever curious about what happens, like Dr. Hoffman figured out or synthesized LSD, and they started doing all these clinical trials everywhere from Harvard and Stanford to...
oh, yeah. By the way, people, that's why it is as big as it is now, because the major universities did all the research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was a lot of good things that happened, and then it spilled out into the streets and was recreationally abused. And then that narrative was allowed to be played out by whoever was writing the story. The truth is that very few people ever overdose from LSD, MDMA, psilocybin, and die. Now, we don't have to get into that, but what is worth mentioning is that if you decide that, hey, this is something that I want to pursue, just respect it. Respect the people that take it and honor what it could do for so many people. If you tap into this and it's something that's very profound to you, if you decide, hey, it's not for me, either way, just honor other people's ability for what it could do for them.
Also, respect after you do it. Respect that not everyone else can do it, right? A lot of people, they'll do it for the first time coming out of it and then think their little siblings and their great grandmother need to start doing it, right?
Oh yeah, man.
Like they think like they've seen God, and now they think everyone else needs to see this, and really they just haven't gone through a bad trip yet to realize like, oh, this isn't for everybody. Yeah.
So advocate for the right reasons.
Advocate for the right reasons and learn. The type of people that learn from it aren't the type of people going around trying to be like, everyone should do this. It's the type of people that are really like, oh no, I'm growing from taking this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So just being a positive example. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was worth mentioning because
freaking Silicon Valley was basically built on microdosing.
Sure was.
Like all our iPhones, phones, the Facebook, all these like crazy things, basically from coders microdosing and creating, because they also have an imagination from taking all this stuff that they can go, and that's what happened in the 70s. That's why the Silicon Valley got so big, because all these young people moved there, took all these psychedelics, and then they were like, oh, these are tools that I can use, and then somehow went into the Matrix and then made Facebook. So
went into the Matrix and found the answers. So if you have questions about this stuff, we're happy to help. I mean, that's honestly
always happy to help.
What we're here for. It's why we're making this. I mean, to be totally vulnerable, sometimes it's scary putting stuff like this out because it's so counterculture.
Yeah, it is a little nerve-wracking sometimes putting it out, but I know it's where the future is going. I understand. Like,
there's no stopping it.
There's no stopping it now. There's too many things backing it. There's maps now, backing it. I mean, you can now invest in companies on the stock market that are specifically doing psychedelic research. Mm-hmm. I feel like once that happened, it truly was no stopping it now, because now there's money to be made in it.
No stopping now.
And once there's money to be made into it, and people are figuring out how to do it, it's like the weed industry. Once it started becoming legal in areas, and there was money to be made, now it's definitely going to keep growing.
There's always money to be made trying to buy your freedom.
And the military coming out too with like the PTSD treatment. There's a lot of generals that are hopping on board on it too, a little bit.
Well, join the movement.
Join the movement, because we're going to be going on that roller coaster. We hope all of you come along with us on it.
And if you feel like this would be beneficial for someone that love, or is thinking about exploring psychedelics, please do us a favor and share it with them. If this has been something that's been helpful for you, we'd love to hear your feedback. Mm-hmm. You can hit us up on Instagram. I'm at ColtonDM. Dylan's at Dylan Whidden. Or you could leave a comment, leave us a review. However you want to connect with us. We're excited to connect with you.
Would love to connect with everybody on it, especially down this topic. This is definitely one of the reasons why we created, was to educate.
Well, anything else, brother?
Get out there. Do it. Love it. Love everybody. Call us if you have any questions.
Bye, guys.